Okay, hello, welcome back to my channel. My name is Laurie. I am a diasporan or a Ghanaian diasporan that was born in the UK, and I very recently moved to Ghana. In this video, I detail step by step the process that I took to make that move from London to Accra in the space of 1 year. I understand that there are many people that are also looking to make that move, make that move to Ghana, and it doesn't necessarily have to be people who are moving from the UK, and it also doesn't necessarily have to be, you guys who are thinking of moving from the West. It could be from anywhere. But for whatever reason, you're interested in, basically just getting a taste of Ghana. I thought it'd be good to share my story, just to maybe point out a few things that you should maybe consider preparing for or sort of getting in order before you actually make that official move over here or over to Ghana. So if you can like, comment and subscribe to the channel. If you have any questions, any opinions, please hop down into the comments. Let me know what you're thinking. I want to hear your thoughts. My so-called plan to move to Ghana began in December of 2023. And so my good friend invited me to his wedding. And so the wedding was actually based in Cape Coast. So I flew from London to Accra, and then I drove across to Cape Coast for the wedding. Coincidentally, that was basically a few days before my own birthday. And so what was really cute is that following the wedding, everybody drove across to Accra, and they actually arranged a surprise birthday party for me, which was really nice. Everybody was just so nice. Everybody was welcoming. And I think at that point, that's when the penny dropped. And I thought, hold on, why don't I just move to Ghana? So that year, I had finished traveling around Southeast Asia. I did a solo trip. I felt very, very, very comfortable doing so. And so I thought, hold on, if I feel comfortable traveling around Southeast Asia where I stick out like a sore thumb, I don't look or sound like anybody, but I'm okay doing so, why wouldn't I then be able to move to somewhere like Ghana where I can practically blend in and I'm pretty familiar with it? Okay, so the next step I took was securing or obtaining my Ghanaian passport. So when I was younger, I actually considered working in defense. And the issue with working in defense is that they don't allow, or many times, depending on what roles you go for, they don't allow you to hold dual citizenship. And so I would only be able to have my British passport and just my British passport. It would not be possible to have my British passport and then also have my Ghanaian passport. So because of that, I actually held off for many years on acquiring my Ghanaian passport. Fast forward to 2024, my plans for working in defense, not interested anymore. Now I have this plan to move to Ghana. My number one priority was to obtain my Ghanaian passport. When you have your Ghanaian passport, you're able to sort of freely get up, travel to Ghana. You don't have to worry about things like visas. There are also some other perks to having your Ghanaian passport, which I'm not necessarily going to explain now. I'll discuss that later on in the video. But that was my number one priority. At the beginning of January 2024, I started my application for my Ghanaian passport through the UK Ghana High Commission, and I specifically went through the London Premium Application Centre. And so if you go through that specific centre, your application is actually fast-tracked. They expedite the process, and so I had my passport in hand by the end of January. So that was objective number one complete. So as I've mentioned in this previous video, at the beginning of April 2024, I began the process of purchasing my first plot of land in Ghana, specifically Afinia. Definitely do check out that video. Very, very good video. Yes, advice. And let's be real, when you buy property in a place, it just contributes to you feeling more tied to, closer and more at home in that place. So I own land now. So I spoke to the people that I know who had lived in different countries, or they had had their work lives and their personal lives split between different countries. And they all seemed to agree on the same thing, that if I was to move to Ghana, that I should at least trial run living in Ghana for a period of 2 to 3 months. And yeah, so that's as opposed to me just moving there straight away, coming head to head with these issues and potentially being spooked and then leaving Ghana. So yeah, I took that advice. And so just a bit of context about my working life situation at the time. I worked for a consulting firm that was based in London. I went into work Monday to Friday. And so I had like a hybrid working arrangement. And so there was a set number of days that they would expect you to come into the office. Otherwise, I'd work from home. So in my mind, my ideal working arrangement at that time was me being able to live and work in the UK, and then also from time to time in Ghana. And then when in Ghana, I would then work remote. And so I planned a 6-week trip to Ghana starting from May 3rd through to mid-June. And so the idea was that I would go there and identify what could and would go wrong while living and working there, and figure out how exactly I would go about resolving those issues. So during the 6-week test trip, I was able to achieve many things. So number one, I actually surprisingly discovered that I prefer Ghana outside of December. So in the UK, you work Monday to Friday and you're sort of living for your Fridays and your weekends, right? But in Ghana, whatever day of the week it is, there's always something going on. And so what I found is that at least outside of December, it wasn't so crowded, it wasn't so packed. You get to enjoy the calm of it being outside of December, but yeah, I could still go out and enjoy myself after the fact. After I would finish working remote, I could still go out, I could still socialize. So yeah, I prefer Ghana during every other month apart from December. Apparently dirty December is not for me, so yeah. And so since I had my Ghanaian passport, I was able to then obtain my Ghana card. In case you're wondering what a Ghana card is, the Ghana card serves as proof of identity or citizenship, and it gives you access to services like healthcare, banking, the ability to use things like mobile money, and it also serves as an ECOWAS travel document for when you want to move within countries in West Africa. And then because I had my Ghana card, I was then able to secure a Ghanaian SIM card for my phone. I was also then able to open my first bank account in Ghana because I had my Ghana card. I don't yet drive in Ghana, so it was actually a useful exercise getting used to using the different riding apps. So things like Uber, Bolt, Yango in Ghana. So obviously we have these apps, we have Bolt, we have Uber in the UK, but it doesn't necessarily work the same. The way you interact with drivers in Ghana using those apps is not the same as you would do in the UK. So it was very useful navigating my way around, not just Accra, but even in regions outside of Accra using these rider apps. If you don't drive, just knowing how to do that, it sort of helps you to be independent. You don't have to rely on anybody to take you around. And I was, of course, able to socialize, network, and meet new people, which is always important when you're trying to settle into a new place. And actually it turned out that some of the people that I met during that trip were actually able to help me further down the line when it came to things like, securing a place to live or a place to rent, and just other things that I've needed. Ghana is about who you know. So it's definitely in your best interest to at least make one trip before officially moving here, just so you can establish some connections, you can make some friends. You just never know who you'll meet, and you'll never know how instrumental they will be further down the line. And also even how you can serve them, like what you can do for them. I landed back in the UK mid-June. It was grey, it was depressing, it was raining. No surprises there. At that point, I was fully committed to leaving the UK and moving to Ghana by the end of 2024. Having arrived back in the UK, I then saved for the next 5.5 months for a 6-month stint or part 2 test run of Ghana. The cost of living in the UK is wild, but every month I still try to just put money aside for my move to Ghana. To save even more money and to save faster, I actually moved out of the place that I was staying at the time, or the place that I was renting, and then I moved into a friend's place just so I could save more money. In the previous years, I would say that travel was probably my greatest expenditure. But of course, if I was to save the money that I would need to make that move to Ghana, I had to give it up. So I gave up travel, I gave up small trips, all of that. And again, that helped me to save more money. And so in total, I would take with me £11,000 for my 6-month trial living period in Ghana. So later on, I would actually expand that or extend that to £15,000, but that is something I'll probably discuss in another video. So if maybe that's something you'd be interested in, or if you just want a general breakdown of, I guess, I don't know, money that I spend living here or just general cost of living in Ghana, let me know in the comments. And so in August of 2024, I booked a one-way ticket from the UK to Ghana for November 29th. At the time, I didn't know what I was going to do with my job, but I just knew once I booked that ticket, it would just somehow just force me into action. Once I booked that ticket, I happily began counting down the days, and I just feel like once I booked that ticket, it just gave me something to look forward to. Like, it just made the working day seem a bit less painful. Yeah, so I don't know if it was out of complete lunacy, but I actually considered traveling to Ghana in December and working remote just for that month, and then coming back to the UK. But then, yeah, I just thought I had had enough. This was my chance. This was my way out. So I just handed in my notice. My job at the time had a notice period of 28 days. So around mid-October, I handed in my notice. And so my final day was actually November 15th. And even on that last day, I didn't go into the office. I just worked from home. Hallelujah. It was over. By finishing my job on November 15th, that gave me a period of exactly 2 weeks to prepare for my move to Ghana. So I purchased a very cute set of new suitcases, and yeah, I began shopping and packing all of my belongings. On the morning of November the 29th, I called my Uber and I drove to London Heathrow Airport, boarded my flight, and then later in the afternoon landed in Accra. And so began my 6-month trial of living in Ghana. So I hope you found this video interesting, and I hope it's been of some help to you. Please like, comment, and subscribe. And if you have any questions, if you have any opinions, I want to hear them down below in the comments. Yeah, so stay tuned, and I hope to see you in the next one.